For years and years, people have been telling me to write books. And just recently, somebody told me I should start a podcast because I haven't really, been into the whole book thing, but maybe I should because, if Graham Hancock can put out such false information, then, at least I can tell people where life is really coming from. Um, I mentioned Graham Hancock just because I actually just saw a video where he was talking about how the pyramids are ancient alien technology. Well, okay, okay, that's actually what I went. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm making a video. I'm telling people what I know. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's information about everything is wrong. It's just that the majority of it is. Um, People really don't seem to have an inkling or understanding of the real history of this earth and how old it is and how old civilization is. And I mean, they're very limited. I remember when I was a kid, they tried to convince me that people have only been living for about 5,000 years and that God plopped us here and that we were never here before that. And I just looked at them and went like, you're crazy. But anyway, so the fact of the matter is that we are actually millions of years old. We have evolved through different forms throughout the years, but yes, we are millions of years old. Human beings have lived on this earth. They have lived through the dinosaur age. I've known that I carry knowledge in me that is like cellular almost. Some things I just know, and like when I was 4 years old watching the moon landing, I said, "This is fake." I was 4 years old. This is fake, and I went out to play. It was a nice sunny day. Anyway, so sorry to digress a little bit, but so just to understand about that. If you want to know about those other topics, I'm happy to go into them just from how I know things. I don't know how I know, I just know I know. Anyway, well, this I know how I know because I actually learned it somewhere. So I'm going to tell you where I learned it. So, first of all, there's two sources. When I was very young, I used to read a lot about archaeology because that was one of my major interests, and or watch films about it on television because we didn't have the computer back then. So I think I saw a show. I'm pretty sure it was a show that I saw on television. I can't remember when. It would have to have been in the early 80s or the late 70s. I think around that time. And anyway, some guy had taken a piece of the rock from the Sphinx and he had sent it to a lab to have it tested. Where is this rock? Where's it been? What's its life cycle? Blah blah blah. Apparently, it was very very old. I can't remember the exact. I can't remember the exact age of the it was pretty old. I wish I remember now, because then it would have tied in with all the other knowledge that I've learned since then. But anyway, it had been underwater for like 5,000 years. Okay, so when I learned through Gnostic anthropology about the history of the earth and the history about the pyramids and Egypt and things like that, well, different little things, it made me understand that what more of what people know, like, of course, I believed that, when I was a kid and I was told that the pyramids were like 5,000 years old and the Egyptians built them, but they thought they were tombs. I knew they weren't tombs. I knew that. I knew that. Okay. I knew that. So I did learn on YouTube about, and you can find it about the Pharaoh's pump, and that's basically what this was. These were ancient systems, which I actually also learned in the Gnostic anthropology. These were ancient systems of grids for pumping water and generating energy. That's what these were. Now, what happened is because, as you said, as I told you, the Sphinx thing was underwater for 5,000 years. Probably, if they test the outsides of other things, that no, those tombs were pretty secure. They didn't get any water in them. But anyway, but anyway, so basically, it was an energy system, and this was on the land of Atlantis. So that's where these pyramids were. They were on the land of Atlantis. The world got flooded, quote unquote, Noah's flood, And because he was, and actually, believe it or not, that's where the whole Bible history is. Noah actually did live on the land of Atlantis, and his grandfather Enoch wrote stories that tell about native people. Again, another story that's long and complicated. If you want to know the history of where the native people went and were they a part of Noah's Ark? Yes, they were. I can tell you that whole story. I figured that out myself. Thank you very much. Um, okay, so back to this. So yeah, so this was the energy system that created the whole grid. And there's another part of these pyramids that, like, if you go way out into the desert, some guy, I forget when it was, like in the 40s, or and he was digging around, sure that he was going to find a whole bunch of treasure. But what he ended up finding was the end of the pump, where like the water went out, like where it pumped out to that end point. And so he was seeing a whole part of the pyramid structure when he was digging that out, and he totally didn't catch that. He just kept thinking he was going to find treasure, and he started destroying these huge blocks that were in place. But anyway, so like I said, these were part of Atlantis, and that's and again, all the hieroglyphs as well were also part of this ancient culture. And what ended up happening to this culture, which happens throughout history over and over, is that the divine creator sees things that are not going so well. So pretty much we were advanced technologically, like we are right now, but we were going in a direction that wasn't good, that wasn't worthy of of for someone. Imagine somebody's looking in your window. What do you want them to see? You don't. That's why you close your doors, right? So, but God sees everything. So there you go. And because he does see everything, he was seeing everything, and he destroyed that land with the water, just like it says in the Bible with the Noah's flood whole thing. Everybody thinks that was like 5,000 years ago. No, it was 25,000 years ago. There are cycles. There are cycles, and this is another thing that's well known. It's all about the cycles you go through. You go through a 25,000, I forget what number cycle, and then each one of those are 2,000 something, and they create like a a decahedron, like the shape, or a pentagonal shape around, actually, sorry, around. So if you have a circle, you put like a pentagon in that. Each time you reach a point where the pentagon, it would be like 2,000 something odd years, and different things happen. And so that's why you're finding like 2,000 something odd years Jesus walked the earth. That was the age of Pisces. Now we're going into the age of Aquarius, things like that. So it happened. Everything is happening in cycles, and so is that. And so I don't know if we're getting close to I think we are getting close to the 25,000 year cycle. Maybe it'll be another 2,000 years. I don't know. I can't remember. I know I learned all this stuff at one point. Sorry, I can't remember all the details. Um, I'll tell you, like I said, I can just tell you what I can remember. Um, I do remember that, again, this was part of Atlantis. There was another catastrophic, huge thing 25,000 years before that, and that was called the Lemurian Age. A lot of people talk about that as well, and that's where our bodies were a little bit different than they are now. Everybody was what you would call a hermaphrodite today. So that was everybody back then, and then we split into sexes, the male and female. Probably to learn something, who knows what. Probably that's when it was the first man and first woman, and the Adam and Eve story started there. So and that was, I would say, at the beginning of the I don't know, probably even older, who knows. I'm not sure exactly what happened all before that. I don't have all the deets and all straight out, but I do know that these were not built by the Egyptians. They were not built by Hebrew slaves. And if everybody thinks that every slave in Egypt was a Hebrew, they're also wrong, because in my past lives, which is another thing I know a lot about, are past lives, I try to tell people about this. Anyway, in one of my past lives, I was a slave in Egypt. I was the slave to one of the accountants. So he was assigned me, that accountant was assigned me as his slave to, I guess, help him out. But anyway, so that kind of stuff did happen. And don't forget that when all the slaves were taken out of Egypt by Moses. They were taken, they were a multitude of different people. And that's the other thing. Everybody thinks that all the slaves were Hebrew. So if you watch these like old 50s movies and all the slaves are these white Hebrew guys, no, that's not how it works. Anyway, so there was a multitude of people who were slaves back in Egypt. They did not write all the hieroglyphs. They did not bury all those kings. And they lived a long, 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 much longer time ago than you think. So other people kind of like came in and took over. Yes. So like definitely Cleopatra. But, again, everybody, she was white. She came from Greece. So open your eyes. I know everybody wants to believe she was black, but some facts just can't be denied. Anyway, not that I really care either way. But I always thought she was black before that, before I figured out the whole history of Egypt. So again, we're talking about ages. Basically, I'm talking about ages. The Sphinx, all those things were done a long time ago. If you're wondering why the Sphinx lost his nose, they did that a lot to deface statues. And in that period of time, it was like a real sign of like I don't respect you and I'm going to take off your nose. And that's why the nose is missing you'll see on a lot of statues that it'll be intact, but the nose will be missing. So if you can astral travel and you travel to Egypt, there are teachers there in the astral world that still teach ancient Gnostic teachings. So, or if you go to a modern day Gnostic anthropology class, you can learn a lot about the history of the world. They really have a great understanding. So like not all of the Gnostic knowledge was lost. Don't forget, Jesus only lived 2,000 years ago, and he studied Gnostic teachings. That's what he taught us, the Gnostic teachings. And basically, I guess that's it for the open your eyes and the truth about Egypt lecture, which is, yeah, they didn't build the pyramids. They didn't build those things. All those tombs weren't theirs. And it's much, much older than you think. And this is the other thing that I think is extraordinary, is something that we can do today. Many people have recreated the pump factor with this, with like the little room in there and the pump and the water goes down. They've recreated all that. There's a couple of YouTube videos, if I remember where it is or if I find it, because I keep a lot of interesting videos in lists on my channel. So like history and true things about the universe and recipes. I have all kinds of lists. And then I have a bunch of lists I made myself. So Manitoulin Island, Southern Ontario, different things like that where I've traveled and I've just shown like short clips of the forest or interesting things in the forest, things like that. That's what you'll find. But I really think people need to wake up about the true history of who we are, how long we've been on the planet, the fact that we roamed with dinosaurs. Yeah, I can tell you all the proof I've seen. I can tell you everything I know. I can tell you about my past lives. I can tell you the knowledge I carry, the cellular knowledge that I carry. I know a lot of other people carry cellular knowledge, but I can only tell you what I know. So anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have anything to add, I will try to find videos that back up kind of like that have really good information. Something that I actually learned about Adam and Eve in one of the videos. So yeah, that'd be if I find them, I'll add them in. Okay, thank you again. Have a great day. It's Easter today. 2024, and we're going to have an eclipse in a few days. It's going to be so much fun. Everybody's all worried. I'm like, yeah, bring it on, baby. I know the good stuff's coming.